a tariff is a consumption tax, really. That's what it is. And I have always fought this throughout my career because when I retire, I don't want us to get rid of the income tax because I saved all my money under the income tax. Now I have to pay a consumption tax. And so I'm going to be double taxed in my life, right? But I finally decided, you know what? My, great grandfather or grandfather went to World War II and they sacrificed, the greatest generation sacrificed to win World War II. I think maybe we should sacrifice. We ought to change from an income tax to a consumption tax. You scrap it. You can't have, like Europe has both. And that's, I always think that's crazy. But you have to get rid of the income tax and then move to a consumption tax. And I think that would help a lot of this overconsumption in the United States. It would boost savings, boost production, and it would make us more competitive around the world. So if we're going to use tariffs and think of them as a substitute for the income tax, let's go all the way. Let's go all the way and put in, and there's a group of people out there, they call it the fair tax. I'm sure many people watching today have heard of that. And I'm now a supporter. I used to fight against it because I didn't want to be double taxed in my life. And save under the old system and then spend in my retirement under the new system. But now I'm willing. I think we should be willing to do that. I think those of us who have saved under the income tax system should be willing to pay a consumption tax in order to get to a better economy in the future.
And Brian, if we can close out this way, let me sort of make the case for that, I think in a certain type of plain language, and tell me if you agree with what I'm saying. You're saying, we live in a country where if some guy makes $75,000 a year or $100,000 a year, right now, that guy is spending pretty much all of it. Yep. One way or the other, there's very little savings. And in fact, it's not surprising to find that guy, even with a pretty decent income, going into debt, credit card debt, all other types of debt. And you're saying that it would be better, not just for the country in some generic way, but it would be better for that guy to have a savings habit, not because we're against him consuming or his family consuming, but because if he actually saved money, he would get to consume a lot more down the road. In other words, the good old habit of deferred gratification and frugality aimed at consuming later. So your point is this. Right now, what we do is we tax the guy's income. And when you tax the guy's income, you're penalizing him really for getting income, right? Because you're taxing that. And you're saying if we shift, don't tax income, but tax consumption, the guy will have more of an incentive not to give the money to the government per se, because he's giving it one way or the other, but rather to put some of that money aside, not consume, but rather save, so he'll have and his family will have more money down the road. Isn't that in a nutshell the kind of case for a consumption tax over an income tax?
Dinesh, perfectly said. And you've made, I believe a good tax system should be moral and ethical and actually encourage us to do the right thing. And deferred gratification is one of the, we try to teach our kids all the time this, right? We every parent in the world has had to deal with this. And I think our system today, because it's designed by Keynesians, really, who said it, Dinesh? You're the scholar here. Who said we're all our actions are controlled by some dead philosopher?
Keynes. I think that was actually Keynes who said that, and it applies now to him.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going. I think it was Keynes, and that's what we do. We tax savers. That's when you go after billionaires, they can't spend all their money. I don't care how big their yacht is. They still have tons of savings. And we're taxing them and we're giving it to people who spend it all. And that's creating more demand for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. The savings rate in America right now as a percent of our income is 3.8%. It's about a half, about a half of what we saved before COVID.